Good morning. Welcome to the second day of the Advanced Machine Learning Days Generative AI Conference. Today we have the workshop tracks. You are at the AI policy track, just to be sure. I'm looking forward to a great morning with you and our panelists and speakers. My name is Jan Kerschgens. I'm the Executive Director of CIS, and I'm happy to walk us through this morning and moderating the panel later on. Just a brief preview of what we're going to do this morning. So we're going to start out with a super simple introduction to AI and generative AI. This is like a big challenge, right? Having 20 minutes and like bringing everyone up to speed what actually we're talking about when we speak about AI. It's not just ChatGPT. Then we go this is by the academic director of CIS, Professor Pierre van der Geynst. Then we go to a second presentation with Ambassador Roger Dubach about how to set the course for crafting a legal and regulatory landscape for AI. We then continue with an intervention from Ms. Ms. Daughter first for AI in the machine tool industry, opportunities and challenges. And then right before the coffee break, we have another input presentation by Aisha Piotti on the AI policy, a strategic opportunity. We then have a small break, and we have then 1 hour to discuss in the panel the questions that might have come up during the morning or that have not been addressed during the presentations. So without further ado, a super small intro, what motivated us to propose this workshop this morning. When I say AI, I think most people they think about chatbots, they think about image generation. They might have seen reports on the economic impact of generative AI. They might have seen even reports of OECD writing about how AI will have an impact on science. And this small video, which will hopefully play on the next slide, which is not Morgan Freeman, so you've seen this before.
Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I am not even a human being? Would you believe me? What is your perception of reality? Is it the ability to capture, process, and make sense of the information our senses receive? If you can see, hear, taste, or smell something, does that make it real? Or is it simply the ability to feel? I would like to welcome you to the era of synthetic reality. Now, what do you see?
So this connects also with the work of some colleagues in the room. So it's about deepfakes. So these technologies, they can have a profound impact on many aspects of our life. So there has been, the EU has been amongst the first to say, actually, yeah, we should propose a framework. And it's called the AI Act. But first, other countries tended to say, okay, EU is going to regulate again, fine. Now I think everyone has jumped on the bandwagon. From the snippets I took over the last weeks from press outlets, we've seen that China jumped onto it. The US announced that they consider regulating it. Japan said already, yeah, we're going to make it a legislation, but it's going to be softer than the EU. And then, of course, the question for us in Switzerland, where do we stand? And we will address this as well during the panels and discussions today. Challenges in AI. Yesterday, if you participated in the first day, it was more a scientific conference. We spoke about many of the intrinsic problems that are with these systems that come from the training, the labeling, and how these algorithms then are created. The question is, of course, can this be addressed by policy? Can policy help to put a framework which prevents discrimination, which gives a regulation framework for bias? And then, of course, last but not least, I've seen this article to write last week, How the Race to Control AI is Splitting the West. So interesting thoughts. For today, the goals. So this is actually when I fed into Stable Diffusion that we're going to have a workshop on AI policy. This is how the system actually would imagine us sitting here doing our workshop. So the idea is really today that we listen to diverse presentations coming from policy, from industry, from academia, and that we then address our questions and discussions and concerns during the panel. Having said this, for you as attendees, we have a very tight schedule. We have only the morning session, so questions will in principle be addressed during the roundtable. In order to allow you to not forget your questions, please sign up to the Mentimeter. If you could just do a test, everyone just scan the QR code, put the code, and then see whether you can ask your questions. Like this, we collect all your questions over the session, and we address them as far as possible during the panel. Acknowledgements. So I mentioned yesterday, this has been a huge effort of many people making these 2 days happen. We are happy to propose to you this workshop this morning on AI policy. I think a special shout out goes to the people in the background, Christelle, Deirdre, Nicola, and Jocelyn, who made all the logistics run this smoothly and assure that we have simple things like a mic working this morning for this session. Thank you very much. So these are the speakers and panelists. So I mentioned we start with some 4 input presentations, then we go to the coffee break, and later on we have the panel discussions. Now, without further ado, I'd like to ask Pierre to come to stage for the first presentation.